So in this tutorial, I want to show you how to build a navbar. And we are going to make use of HTML and CSS. So we'll be using HTML and CSS. So let's get started. All right, so I'm going to change my title here to navbar. All right, so I'm going to take everything here off so we can start. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to bring, since I'm dealing with nav, so I will bring an element of nav. Sorry. So I will do nav, close it. So within here, I'm going to have a div. So I will have div. So this div is going to have a class attribute. All right, so I'm going to name this attribute container. All right, so I will name it container. All right, so I'm going to have h1. All right, so inside this h1, I'm going to have my website, the title. So maybe this is going to serve as our logo, my website. All right, so I'm going to have a list, a UL. So I'm going to have a UL here. So I'll have a UL. All right, so inside this UL, I'm going to have LI. So I'll have LI. All right, so I'm going to have LI. And inside this LI, I'm going to have the anchor tag. So I'll have anchor tag. All right, so this a tag is going to have href, which is attribute. So inside, I'm going to put this hash inside. So here I'm going to have home. All right, so I will just copy this. I will just copy this and paste. Let me have about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let me just have 5. So I will just say, okay, let me paste. So I have home. I will change this to service. So I will change this to, let me change this to portfolio. All right, so I will change this to, okay, let's have about. Then I'll change this to contact. All right, so we have all this now. So we have this now. So the next thing we are going to do is all right, so the next thing we are going to do now, we are going to work on the CSS. All right, so let's see what we have first before we proceed to the CSS. All right, so this is exactly what we have here. If you can see, this is what we have. All right, so that is what we have. So what I'm going to do next now, I'm going to go back to my CSS. So I'll go to the CSS file, take off everything here because, like I said, we are writing it from scratch. So the first, I'm going to tag the body. All right, so the body now, I'm going to do it this way. Then UL. Then curly brace, open it. So I'm going to give it a margin of 0. margin 0. All right, so I'm going to have a padding of 0. All right, so let's have all right, so we are done with this one. So the next um selector we are going to take now, we are going to take nav. All right, so we'll take nav, curly brace. So inside here, let's have background color. Okay, so background. So we are going to have background color. So I will say #333. All right. So I'll give it color white. So I will say color. I will do it like #55. Okay, FFF. Let me do FF. So the color should be hash. All right. So I'm going to have padding. So I'm going to give it a padding 10 and 0. So padding 10 pixel, then 0. All right, so what I'm saying here is, okay, let me explain between padding and margin to you. All right, so padding is by the side, while padding is by the side of the content, while the margin is the space. All right, the space inside is padding, while the margin is the space outside. So when using it, you need to take note of that. You know background color already. You know the color actually work on text, while the padding is the space within. Space within. Maybe when they say pad something, like you just have to pad it to keep something stable, so you pad the sides. All right, so here I say padding, the padding top and bottom, then side. So this is what I did. So the next thing I'm going to work on now, so I'm going to take the container now. So I'm here. I'll take this class from here now. Pick it. Then go to my CSS. Then I'll do it this way. All right, so I'm going to bring the curly brace. So this curly brace now, what I'm going to do here, I'm going to have a max weight of 1200. So let's have max weight 1200 pixel. All right, so okay, let's have a margin. Let's have margin. Okay, let me have margin 0, then octo 0 octo. So I'll have it like this. All right, so I'm going to have I'll display flex. Okay, let me put this by the side so you can see what we are doing. Let's see. All right, so this is what we have right now. So I'm going to put it side by side so we can see exactly what's going on there. All right, so I'm going to say display flex. All right, so display flex. So flex. All right, so okay. So we have display flex now. So we are going to have, let's have justify content center, then align item center. Let's have justify content center. All right, so I'm going to have align item. So I will say center. Okay, okay, you know what? Let me change this justify content space between. So I'm going to change this to justify content space between. All right, so I'm going to have space between so you can see it's taking effect. So align item center. So I'm going to have a padding 0 and 20. So I will have a padding here. Padding should be 0 and 20 pixel 20. All right, so that's for the container. So the next thing we are going to work on now, let's work on the H1. So I will just pick this H1. So H1 like this, curly brace. So I'm going to have a font size and a font weight. All right, so here I'll have a font size. Okay, let me have the size should be 25 pixel. All right, so I will have font weight. Font weight should be bold. So let me have bold. All right, so bold. All right, so the next thing we are going to have now, let's have so let's go back here and see. So let's work on the UL and the LI. So now we are working on the UL and LI. So I'll pick the UL. So curly brace. Inside here, I'm going to have a list style. So I'm going to have the list style type. So the list style type should be none. All right. So okay, let me take this off so you see. If you can see here, we have number here. All right, so we have this here, we have dots by this side. So I will just say no, like I don't want any list style type. All right, so that should be none. So okay, for that is for that. So the next thing, I'm still going to work on that. So I'll pick that. All right, then I'll space it and give it li. So then I'll bring my curly brace. All right, so I'm going to display inline. So I will display inline. All right, so display inline. So the next thing, I'm going to have margin right 20. So let me have margin right. So let's have margin right 20 pixel. All right, so I think we are getting something. You can see we are getting something. All right, so margin right 20. So what I'm going to do now, I'm still going to work on the child. So I will say li. So I'm going to say, okay, let's work on the last child. So I'm going to say last child. All right, so I will say last child, the curly brace. So I'm going to say margin should be 0, margin right. So I'll just say margin right should be 0. All right, so I will say the margin right should be 0. So I'm going to work on the A. All right, so I'm going to work on the A. All right, so here now I'm going to work on the A, and to do that, so I'll come here, pick the A. All right, so I'll just pick the A. which is that is the anchor tag. Then here, curly brace. So within here, I'm going to have a text decoration none. Text decoration should be none, which is the underline we have under it. You know what text decoration is. So I'm going to have a color of white. So I will have a color of white. All right. So then I'm going to have font width. So I'm going to have the font width. So I will have bold. Let me have the font width bold. So I'll have bold. All right. So we have. So let's see. All right. So the next thing, let me have the over. So I'm going to say A over. All right. So curly brace. So here I'm going to say color red. Red. All right, so let's see what we have here. So this is how our navigation bar look like. So you see, anytime you hover on it, you can have something like this. You can have something like this. You can have something like this. All right, you can have something like this. So if I decide, I can decide to give it a background at this over. So if I place over, let me just say background. So let me just say background color should be white. So anytime I hover on it, the background color should be white. You see that? You see that? You see that? You see? You see? All right. So if let me say if I want, I could just say the border radius. Okay, let me just say the border radius should be. Let's have let me just have 50 pixel. All right, so let's try something and see. So we have it curve, a little bit curve. All right, so you see, so this is what we have. So I will just take it to 20, a little curve edge. All right, so this is how to create a navbar. All right, so you can put your logo here. You can decide to have your logo this side, and this is your beautiful navbar. All right, so this is your beautiful navbar. This is it. This is it. So this is how to create a navbar. Thanks for watching this video. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel and like and drop a comment. If you want me to make a tutorial on any kind of video you want, kindly drop a comment.